All right, so I wanted to do kind of an update. I've had this thing for a little over a year now, and just wanted to tell people how it was going since I did the kind of the original review on this. So far, the machine has held up well. I don't know, probably done 20 sets of tires for friends and family and stuff like that. I've seen really no rust or anything fail on the machine at all. I do spray a little bit of WD-40 on the actuators and stuff, and but no, the machine's working great. Right now I'm kind of replacing some Michelins that would just 25,000 miles just started to deteriorate, even though they've been rotated fine and they have good tread. Not sure what's going on there, but so one update. So the original machine had this piece of plastic for the bead breaker, and you can see there's a little difference here. Basically it has these tabs. The metal behind this is straight. What would happen is these tabs, as they pushed against the tire, would kind of bend and flex. And what I found, and I was having trouble with it essentially popping onto the rim almost, or falling off, and it just wasn't working good. So I literally got this off of Amazon. I think it was 10 bucks. It covers it perfectly, and it just makes it so much easier to do the bead breaker. So the next thing I want to do is just kind of show you how to, I've already shown how the machine works. I want to kind of demonstrate how to not scratch your rims with a tire machine, and just a couple tips. Not a how-to, but a couple tips. When you put the when you're breaking the bead of the tires, you want to make sure the tire is flush up against here, because if it is leaning, you're going to get some movement as that breaker bar comes over. The next step, when you set this up against the tire, make sure you really kind of push it up against the tire, and you can actually actuate the pedal so it moves a little slower than just jamming all the way down. And then once you got it on there, pop it off. And another pro tip, I guess, I say pro with a little sarcasm, don't try to break the bead exactly where the tire pressure sensor is, because you can actually rip it off. So break around it, and usually only have hit the tire twice to get it done. All right, kind of tip number 2, even if a lot of these things get full of rocks and stuff, even if they're brand new, that amount of pressure from a bead breaker can really jam the rim against there. So like in the last video, I will kind of put a towel between the face of the rim and the rubber pad and make sure nothing's in the way. So like right now the table is actually kind of in the way. So rotate it around so it's not in the way. All right, now we got it broken on both sides. The next tip I kind of covered in the last one. When you put it on the inside of the rim, these metal teeth will dig into the rim, which is fine if you're using steel rims. But with these big tables, this is a 20-inch rim. You might be able to do 21 on this. I can't remember what the actual size is, but it just makes it so easy to line it up on the outside of the rim. And now you don't have to worry at all about any scratching on the inside of the rim. That also makes it possible to do the rim upside down. I've tried that a couple times and it works all right, but I still prefer just doing it upright like this. Most people scratch the rim with the head of the machine. So I'm going to kind of try to show you a little tip here of how to do it. If you put it close to the machine, the deflection of the tire will make it hit. So what you can do is set it somewhere. As you can see, I've set it maybe about, I don't know what that is, probably about a 1/4 inch above the wheel there, and almost touching here. As you get the bar in there, you'll see what happens. And of course I'm holding the phone, so I can't do it with the phone, but I'll show you. All right, it's pretty easy to put the breaker bar in there. Like I said, this one comes with that curved breaker bar that makes it pretty easy. Make sure you push the tire down into the notch all the way around, and then it's relatively easy to bring it up here. And you can actually, if you hold it here, you'll see it start to come up over right there, and you can literally just slide this out without even touching the rim. All right, now this isn't quite max pressure right now. As you can see, we still have our 1/4 inch gap there. That will close up a little bit, not much. But now what you can do, since this is almost touching, now turn this once or twice to add just a comfortable gap there, and now even when the tire starts really pushing on it, it's not going to ever touch the wheel. And that's how you do it. People try to use just the Teflon heads, and no matter what, they're going to deflect. And the amount of pressure that the tire puts on here will drag that on there, and it'll rip off paint. So these metal ones, the idea is that it never physically touches the tire. All right, so now we've got the old tire off, new tires going on. We used some lubricant on there. The original stuff dried out because the cap got lost. So I bought this big tub from Amazon, put the cap on there, and that should last me the rest of my life. The first one is always pretty easy to get on, or the lower bead, I guess. Just gonna set the tire like that, push the pedal, just pop on. I don't know how well this is going to work with one hand. I've been using the helper arms. They work great for the low profiles. One little thing I've bought to kind of add is these little guys. They really help hold the tire in place when you're putting on, because what happens is it likes to pop up over here. It needs to stay very low as it goes around for it not to go in. But for a tire like this, you can usually do it without anything. I put that down a little bit. You just want to make sure we're all good here. Add a little bit of extra room just in case. So as you can see, we got a nice, 1.5-inch gap all the way around. I'm just going to keep pushing right about there to make it go. And that's it. When you do have it on the outer clamp method like I did now, where you clamp it on the outside, don't ever try to inflate the tire with it on the machine. Make sure you take it off. That's what we're going to do now. And while the machine does have this giant vacuum head blaster, I almost never use it. Honestly, it provides enough air to usually inflate it without. And worst case scenario, one thing you can do is I made this tube. Basically, you just attach this onto there with a clamp, jam it to an empty airline, and that'll just jam a ton of air in there much faster than the hose. And that usually is all the bead blast you get. I've never had any problem getting any bead to set, no matter what low profile or off-road tires I've had so far. I'm sure there's a situation where it'll work, but either way, most of the time it just blows your eardrums out. So most of the time they pop around 10 psi. Right now we got 4 in there. You never really want to go too high. When I used to work as a tire installer, we had a couple that wouldn't mount until over like 70 psi, and that was downright dangerous. But there you go. This one popped at 14. So the balancers have been working great too. I noticed that there's a little bit of difference where when it stops, if you mark where it tells you to put the weight and then you rotate it on the shaft and lock it back down, sometimes it'll be off by a few inches, but it's still been doing pretty good at balancing the tires. I've had really no issues with it. So this one just needs a little bit of weight and we're done. There you have it. Tires balanced, back on the car. Make sure, I didn't mention this earlier, make sure you always line the red line up with the valve thing, and you're good to go. But I still recommend the machine, and yeah, I haven't had any issues with it.